Check it out, everybody! I beat China! Finally! After all these years. Sort of. We'll talk about it. Okay, so as you may recall from my metal paint comparison video, click there to see that if you haven't seen it yet. One of the perennial challenges of making cool stuff that I want to make is having a very realistic gold or silver finish. I tried a bunch of stuff with paint, and in that video I promised I'd do another video where I'd follow up and try to learn about metal foils, gold leaf, silver leaf, that kind of stuff. So, here as promised. Also as promised in that video, I was going to give away a prize. I was going to give away 2 prizes with every intention to do so, and I will be doing that today, right now. Skip to the end of this video if you want to go right there and see if you are a big winner. And I hope you are. Alright, so let's talk about metal foil. I'm just going to call it gold leafing. That's primarily what I was trying to figure out here. Just as an aside, you can get silver leafing, copper leafing, aluminum. These are all leaves, different leaves that I've tried. So I made a little statue, this emblem thing. I made a mold out of it. If you're interested in learning how to mold, check out that video. And then made a whole bunch of casts to do my gold leafing practice on. I wanted something that would have some very smooth, flat areas and then also some kind of detail. So since I've been doing all these Zelda themed stuff anyway, I thought it'd be cool to do the little emblem from the original Legend of Zelda cartridge. Okay, so how did it turn out? Well, I learned a lot of things. Basically, there are 3 steps to gold leafing. The first one is preparing your surface, and this requires a lot of patience. Basically, the smoother your surface is, the more brilliant the shine and reflection is going to be. So it requires many, many steps of graduated sanding pads to get it a glass smooth surface. Here's an example on this sword that I've been working on, just to show you a little easier how it works. So you can see I've got this progression of sanding sponges that go from fairly coarse to super, super fine. And that's how you get that surface. So after you've prepared your surface and have it glass smooth, the next step is the adhesive. Now in gold leafing this is called size for whatever reason. Probably to do with the crazy French or Italian, I'm guessing. So you apply the sizing. You can do it with a brush. You can do it with an airbrush. And I did lots of experiments to see which gave me the best results. The trick with applying the sizing is, like I said, you want your surface to be super smooth. If you apply it with a hairbrush, so if you apply it with a paintbrush, you're going to get these little paintbrush strokes in it, and the adhesive dries, and then you apply your leaf, and it's going to pick up all those brush strokes. This is not a problem for large applications like when they're doing, table legs and lamps and stuff like that. But when you're doing these tiny little details, I mean, like, look at this little lion there, right? He's got a mane and a tongue and teeth. It's crazy how much detail is in there. And so any brush strokes on that is going to actually change the surface pretty significantly. So that was an issue. So I tended to use the airbrush most of the time for this. Also, you want the base coat to be a dark blue or a black for silver leaf. And for gold leaf, you want the base coat to be like a reddish hue or yellow, orange, brown, somewhere in that autumnal range. The reason is because no matter how fiddly you get with it, there's always going to be tiny little cracks in your gold leaf, and so that color will show through. But if it matches the color that naturally reflects from that metal, you won't be able to see it. So that's the reasoning behind that. So I tended to use the airbrush most of the time for this, but that's not a perfect solution either. Just like with spray paint, you have to layer it on really thick or else you'll end up with a less than glass smooth surface. The tricky part is that in order to pile up the paint, or in this case the adhesive, to pile it up enough to smooth it out, you tend to get strange surface anomalies like this divot. And the best I could do was just keep piling it on until I ended up with a Ripley surface. So now, even if you water it down to about 10%, which is what it says you can do, it's still sticky glue you're shooting through a gun, and it tends to gum up, and you'll get little boogers like this. So I just used tweezers to pick them out and sprayed over the hole left behind. One trick I ended up happiest with was using a paintbrush to apply the size around the edges of the elements like this. And then that made it so that I didn't have to spray so much with the airbrush, so that reduced the amount of pooling that I was getting. Now, airbrushing isn't possible for a lot of things, especially in the medium to small to tiny sculptural applications that I use it for. For example, now I had to repaint this entire statue before I gave him away. That's why this video ended up taking so long. I had to disassemble, strip down all the paint, etc., because the layers that I had put on there hadn't fully dried because I was in a rush to get this out. Big mistake, lesson learned. Anyway, the point being that I couldn't airbrush the size onto this guy without masking and remasking a million times. It's just too cost prohibitive. So I had to use a paintbrush. And what I found was that with the brush strokes that I got, I just wasn't liking the look. So I decided to just kind of go with it and stippled the sizing on to give it kind of a crunchy texture to it. And I ended up quite liking it. It's kind of a more primitive looking beaten gold sort of look. And it mimics the texture that's on the actual gold Zelda cartridge. So I thought that was a neat kind of callback to that. So anyway, I'm very happy with them now, but those were the trials and tribulations to get there. Okay, so now we're going to talk, let's see, we talked about the surfacing, the sizing, the adhesive, and then finally putting the leaf on. The different types of metal leaves are all slightly different in consistency. I found that the silver was like so thin it would almost dissolve on your fingers. The gold is almost that thin, but not quite so unruly. And then you've got aluminum, I believe is what this one is done in. And it's super shiny, but it's a little bit thicker, so you end up seeing all these little cracks, and I don't know, it kept bubbling and stuff, so I wasn't having too much luck with it. A lot of these surfaces, you'll notice, like, from this distance, they look fantastic. But when you get up really close, you start seeing where the surface is not actually perfect. And that's just kind of, as far as I can tell, that's just a limitation of the medium. So, like, when I said I beat China, what I mean is, if you hold this up next to, a piece of plastic from China, at this distance, I think mine looks better. It's only when you start looking at it super close that you can start to see the problems. Speaking of problems, it's important to get the right kind of leaf for the job you're doing. So there's two different ways that a leaf is packaged. There's loose leaf and transfer sheets. Transfer sheets are stuck to a piece of paper, and they're wonderful for applying to flat surfaces, like if you're illuminating manuscripts, but not so wonderful for applying around three-dimensional surfaces. It's all crumbly, and it's not good. That's what the loose leaf is for. Regardless of what kind you use, you're going to end up with little gaps, and that's where the activator comes in really handy. Like, I had to reactivate these areas several times, and sometimes I went back in with a little more size on my paintbrush, but you got to be careful with that because the adhesive, it's kind of thick, and it'll upset the perfect surface a little bit. What it means is that this gold leafing has great applications in several different manifestations. Like if you're doing a belt buckle or an emblem or something for cosplay, that's awesome. It's great, unless you're going to be judged and they're going to come up with a microscope, it looks way better than gold paint. Um, when it comes to miniatures, let me show you this little thing I got going on here. So I tried gold leafing to do highlights on this guy, and it turned out pretty crappy. These edges here get really gnarly and gross. And a lot of that is because this material, I think, it's a little bit rubbery. So even though I applied the adhesive only on those little spots, the leaf would actually stick to other parts of the rubber, and then I had to go in and scrape it off with an X-Acto knife, and then it would break up into these crumbly edges and stuff. So I do not recommend it for miniatures work. Just to show you a side by side, I used that AK. The AK Real Gold actually looks quite a bit better. It's certainly a cleaner, tighter line, and just as reflective. So, yeah, for miniatures, I would stick with the AK Real Gold. Let me show you another thing I was trying out. So this is a sculpture that I did for the molding and casting and painting tutorial series that I did. And I wanted to see, again, what I can do with, with accents. And so having learned from this guy, I decided that I would do the gold leafing first and then apply the paint around that, because I knew the bits of gold tends to be unruly and go where I don't actually want it to go. And so I had better luck with that. It still took a really long time. But I mean, you can see the results. It's nice. I don't know. Nothing to write home about, and I wouldn't say it's quite worth the effort. I probably, if I was going to do this again, I would just use the AK paints. But when it comes to just doing a, one piece in a solid metal, it's really cool. Let me talk a little bit go back to the sizing real quick. So there's 3 basic types. There's oil-based, water-based, and then this is a different kind of water-based called Koldner Instacol. And this is the stuff that I ended up using the most, that I had the most success with. It has an activator so that if it dries after a couple days, you can spray it with that activator and it reactivates. And so you don't have to worry about it sitting for a while. So that's pretty cool. So I did not try the oil-based one. I was basically directed by a professional gold leafer guy that this is the kind of stuff I want because it gives you the smoothest, glassiest surface. And then I did try a water-based one. Let me show you a side-by-side. So this one is the Koldner Instacol. You can see it's extremely reflective. This one, maybe 10-20% less so. This is the water-based Aqua Size. These are both using the same gold leaf, 23.8% carat, whatever, I don't know. Pretty much the highest quality you can get. And so side by side, you can kind of get a sense for which one is shinier. It's not a huge difference, but it's enough to... This one, the water-based, just has more of a satin finish to it. And this one is a lot more super reflective, which is what I like better. Now let's compare different kinds of leaf. So here is this is an imitation gold leaf. And side by side with the real one. One thing to note is that the 24 karat gold leaf, 23.9, whatever it is, the really good gold leaf that I'm using on this is kind of a rose one. So it's just got a slightly rosier hue. And this fake one is a lot more yellowy. But the problem with the fake one is it is not as thin as the real gold. And so you end up seeing all these like micro cracky kind of things. Let's get a real close up here. So yeah, you can see how it just does not hold up under close scrutiny. It's got all those little wrinkles that turn into cracks, I guess. But again, from a distance, if I was going to do cosplay or something like that, I would probably go with the fake stuff just because it reads great at a distance and it's 100 times cheaper. So, a book of, was it 25 pages of, or sheets of the real gold ran me, I think, like $60 or $70. And this particular piece probably took about almost half those sheets, maybe a third of those sheets. So it's not cheap to cover area with this real gold. And then I did some experiments where I was trying to work around areas. Now on this particular piece, this is using the fake gold again. And what I ended up doing was using the AK gold paint around the edges where it, this red here is the original resin, and so I touched it up with paint all around the edges. And then here's an experiment I did where I just mixed several different ones together, some of the fake gold, some of the real gold, other paints and stuff. Give it this kind of antique-y, I don't know what that look is. Whatever that look is, I achieved it. Okay, let's talk about silver. So here is the silver, just the pure silver leaf. I ran into problems with getting these little kind of dimply pimple bubbles that kept appearing. And I kept having to kind of rub them out and then re-apply leaf over it. And no matter what, I could not get them all away. Now let's compare that to, this is the chrome spray paint from the paint comparison video that I did last time. And as you can see, the paint actually is more reflective and shiny than the real silver. The problem with the paint is I run into these issues where I get these little pimples that appear and I cannot figure out how to not get those. It's so frustrating because this is so brilliant and so close to perfect. And on this particular one, this is the same chrome spray paint. I got all these little bubbles, I sanded them down and tried it again and sanded it down and tried it again, and no matter what, the bubbles kept reappearing. So I don't know, maybe it has something to do with the resin I'm using, or maybe it needs primer. Anyway, for your consideration, there you go. Then I did some other tests with this rust paint that I have that lets you do real rust, right? It's actual acid that eats into the metal bits that are in the paint. And that doesn't have much to do with gold leafing. I just did it, so there you go. Because I had a bunch of these to play with, so why not? And finally, let's talk about patina and aging. So technically gold doesn't tarnish, but it does build up grime over the years. And so I was looking for a way to have some of that grimy buildup without knocking down the shine overall. Like, I want it to be obvious that this is real gold, but I still want to give it that aged look. And so I tried a couple things. Didn't bother trying with acrylics because acrylics just don't stick to metal very well. I tried some oil-based paint. I found out that the mineral oil, or the spirits, mineral spirits, odorless mineral spirits. That's what I was using to thin it. That actually ate through the gold, and so I think that's why I ended up doing what I did with this guy. Like, I started with that aging thing, and then it was rubbing off all the gold. So I was like, well, time to try something different. So anyway, then I tried using an oil paint that is almond oil based. And so you thin it out with almond oil, and that worked pretty well. But the thing I found that I liked the most was this stuff called Quick Shade. And so this comes in 3 different flavors: vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. No. So there's a soft tone, a strong tone, and then there's a dark tone, which I don't have. But this is basically a varnish, and it's designed so that you dip your little figures in there and then you shake them off really vigorously, and then it automatically adds darkness in the little folds and wrinkles and creases, giving them depth. But you can also just apply it with a brush, and that's what I did. So I'll show you how I did that. I'm going to use, for this demonstration, I'm going to do it on the gold that didn't, so this is the gold that I used the water-based, the aqua size water-based sizing on. So it's, as you can see, it's not nearly as glistening gold as the other sizing that I used, but it is still real gold. So anyway, let me demonstrate real quick. Use a pretty soft brush, and I just go in and start feeding it into the cracks, and then through the capillary action it kind of pulls it in deeper. This is the soft tone that I'm using right now, and so it's pretty subtle unless you really pile it on. Now you can see if you get it that deep, you start to really see it. But what I'll do is I'll put in a big puddle like that and then just use that as a reservoir to dip my brush into. Let me show you what it looks like when you just cover. See, when you just do it really thin, it spreads out and pretty much becomes invisible. And since it's a varnish, it will protect your piece really nicely as well. In general, you don't have to put a protective coating over gold leaf, unless it's something that's going to be handled, that could be scratched and stuff. But the gold leaf won't, curl or fall off or accept fingerprints. I mean, it's gold, right? So it has all the properties of gold. But being leaf, it's very thin. So if you handle it a lot, it could scrape through. So yeah, that's what it looks like with some aging, some grime of the ages built up over it. I tend to like that look better. Yeah. So I think what I'll do now is give away some prizes. Alright, it is finally time to give away these fabulous prizes. And by that I mean I'm really sorry. So I posted this prize giveaway in, I think it was July of last year, and I mentioned this in the other portion, but you may not have seen it. Things went wrong. The base coat that I applied on this guy, I guess wasn't set up fully before I started doing the metallic paint over it, and a couple days later I was getting ready to do this prize giveaway, and I touched him and my finger stuck. And that is not the kind of prize that I want to give away. So I had to completely disassemble him, strip all the paint off, resand, reprime, blah blah blah. It took forever, and I figured I might as well do this foil tutorial since I was applying foil to him as the final solution. I really need to not say final solution. As the penultimate, no, as the terminal, no. It was the last thing I did, like before I died? The point being, I did actual, like, real gold leaf on this guy to complete him, because I wanted to be very happy with what I was sending away as a prize. That's just kind of a quality thing that I have here at Breath of Life Art Studio. So anyway, let's get to it, shall we? In proper Josh Foreman form, I decided to do the longest, hardest possible method of giving away a prize, which is I printed out every new subscriber's name and cut them out into these little papers, and I'm going to sprinkle them on this fancy device that I created, and the Darknut is going to choose his new home. This is very exciting. This is the first time that a sculpture has chosen who it's going to live with, so prepare to be impressed. I'm going to sprinkle these names around here. I'm going to make a huge mess. Oh. Alright, let's give this guy a spin and see who he chooses. So now, move on to the next round. We're going to clear away all these names. Now I'm going to spread these guys out. Now my heart is really hoping that a European is going to win. My wallet is really hoping a North American will win. Okay, here we go. Round 2. Lifted wing. Let's see. EO Nenmakl GW2. Great name, maybe? And Mr. Paconi. Alright. This is it, guys. Good luck to all 3 of you. Okay, we have a winner. Congratulations to EON Goldberg. Congrats. I will email you shortly. Alright, so that is our new subscriber winner. Keep that there. Okay. Now we need to pick out our share winner. This was someone who was previously subscribed but shared this video with others. This is a smaller pool, and so again, good luck everyone. Okay. Huh, he's kind of pointing to a gap with no one in it. I guess that means no one wins. I guess I have to keep them for my... I'm just kidding. Let me... There we go. Well, it looks like this one will be finished in only 2 turns. Here we go. Our winner is Jason Thomas. I'll be emailing you tonight. Congratulations. And just for good measure, you know, I made so many of these Zelda emblems, I might as well give one of those away. So let's do this again. Okay, so if you want to win one of these Zelda emblems, go ahead and subscribe. That will automatically enter you into the contest. And if you are already subscribed, share this video, send me a little snip image or whatever of that share, and you will be entered as well. Email it to breathoflifeart@gmail.com. Let me know which one of these you like the best, and you can have it. If you're subscribing and you win, you know, I'll just do a drawing in a week. And if you win, I'll email you, and then you could tell me which one you want. That should work out fine. Should work out great. Okay, finally. Thanks for watching, guys. I've got some really exciting things coming up on the channel soon. I've been putting together a Sculpey 101, kind of the basics of how to sculpt stuff with Sculpey. That's going to be pretty fun. I've got some other things I can't really tell you about because they involve secrets that I gotta keep safe. So, but trust me, it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. And so stay tuned. We'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.